The other day, I saw a video from a channel called Mystic, a great PlayStation-centered channel, by the way, and probably the only one of its ilk that's not a stupid fanboy channel. Anyway, the video I saw from him was about a rumor that's been circulating around about the PS6 having a detachable disk drive. Just like the PS5 Pro does, and the Slim does, or rather the current model of the base PS5, since the Slim replaced the OG model, unfortunately. And the more I was watching his video, I was increasingly like, I just don't fucking care. No shade thrown towards him, of course, I appreciated his coverage. It's just that as it stands right now, I can't muster up any excitement for the PS6. And it has to do with what I've complained about before. This has been such a nothing burger console generation. Why should I believe that the next console generation will be any different? I mean, hopefully when the PS6 launches, we won't be in the midst of a global pandemic, just like we were when the PS5 launched. I know obviously that was a major strike against the PS5 for the first few years, supply shortages meaning most people couldn't get the new console, and that was a big factor into why we saw such a long overlap where major titles were being released for both the PS4 and the PS5. But we also have to factor in that we're beginning to see diminishing returns in terms of horsepower for these machines. Tell me, was the leap between PS4 and PS5 really that substantial? I know you could point to things like loading times and ray tracing and other little things that the PS5 is capable of that the PS4 wasn't, or at the very least more efficient at. But speaking purely as someone who is extremely casual when it comes to tech knowledge, which I'm sure is a category that most players, especially console players, fall in. When I'm playing games like, say, The Last of Us Part 2 or God of War 2018, I'm not like, yep, these are definitely last-gen experiences that this current console generation has greatly improved upon. No, games today are largely the same. Now, I'm not saying that every game released today, or at least major AAA releases, are on exact equal footing when it comes to graphical capability as games that released 5+ years ago. But I'm just saying the leap between hardware isn't impressive anymore, and I'm certain I'll be of the same frame of mind when the PS6 is out. Yeah, I'm sure games on the PS6 will have better lighting, better reflections, you'll be able to see even more pores on a character's skin, and shit like that. But none of that entails such a substantial jump from the PS5 to the PS6 that I'll feel inclined to buy the PS6 right when it launches. I mean, we already have the PS5 Pro, whose big selling point is you can play games in 4K and 60 FPS. And overall, games look a touch more impressive on the PS5 Pro compared to the base PS5. And yeah, sure, that's all well and good, but that's not enough to entice me to dump my regular PS5 and buy $700 hardware. Sony is obsessed with bigger, better specs, but there's just not enough games out there that take full advantage of these supposed bigger, better specs. There's already not many games that can only be experienced on current-gen hardware that the PS4 wasn't also able to handle, and we're nearly 5 fucking years into the PS5's lifespan, if you could believe it, and I have no doubt the same will be true for the PS6. We'll be more than halfway into the PS6's lifespan, and most of its major releases will still be going over to the PS5 as well. And if that's the case, which it more than likely will be, what is the point in getting the PS6 when I won't really be missing out on anything if I choose to stick with my PS5? We're at a point in time where brand new consoles feel more like optional, more powerful hardware rather than direct replacements of the hardware you already own. I mean, yeah, sure, we're finally not seeing major releases also be released on the PS4 this fucking late into the PS5's lifespan, where we're already at the point where we're getting more substantive PS6 rumors, and the PS6 is more than likely, like, maybe 2 or 3 years away, so is it really worth celebrating? Once again, I wouldn't mind console generations being extended by probably 3 years at minimum, so that we have more games that release that take full advantage of the current console's hardware. And you know, many AAA games now take an entire fucking console generation to make. And it also doesn't help that Sony was pushing hard for many of their studios that mostly specialize in single-player story campaign games to all of a sudden start wasting time and resources into making live service games because Sony really wanted to chase that money-making machine. And we've been seeing how well that's been panning out. Cancelled games like The Last of Us multiplayer game that was originally just going to be factions too that would have been just tacked on to The Last of Us 2, and abysmal failures like like Concord, but hey, you had one exception in Helldivers 2, so congratulations, I suppose. It's almost like when your brand has specialized in top quality single-player experiences for pretty much its entire fucking existence, your player base is not going to be very receptive to a sudden pivot to live service slop. Who would have guessed? But yeah, I do like the good news in the PS6 possibly having a disk drive, meaning that physical media in the gaming industry gets to survive at least one more console generation. So that's a silver lining, but all in all, I really haven't given a fuck about any PS6 rumor that has come out, because I have no excitement surrounding the next generation of consoles, because I know it will likely be a continuation of this nothing burger console generation. Anyway, that's all I have to say. Bye-bye.